If they knew who you were becoming, they would have never dared to pick you as their target. Listen closely, my dear chosen ones, because this isn't a soft bedtime story or a gentle motivational whisper. This is a wake-up call wrapped in reality, forged in fire, and delivered with the authority of someone who knows you didn't survive by accident. You were not spared by chance, coincidence, luck, or random alignment. You were spared because your story cannot be finished by hands that never authored it. And before we go deeper, let's rewrite the headline they tried to control. Chosen One, snatched away from a vicious trap before their wicked scheme could touch your destiny. Chosen One, there are people who don't dislike you. They fear the version of you even you haven't fully met yet. They don't envy your present. They tremble at your future. They didn't target you because you were weak. They targeted you because somewhere inside their twisted motives, they recognized your worth before you even realized it yourself. They saw potential they couldn't duplicate, influence they couldn't match, resilience they couldn't break, and purpose they couldn't counterfeit. You might ask, why me? Why was I even on their radar? Because not everyone gets chosen for a silent assassination attempt. Only people with rare substance attract strategic attacks. Only individuals with inner magnitude attract coordinated shadows. When a person carries something uncommon, life doesn't throw pebbles at them. It sends storms tailored to drown them quietly. That alone is proof you were never ordinary. Before we continue, Chosen One, if this message is speaking to your spirit, your journey, your pain, or your awakening, take a moment to support this platform. Your like, your comment, and your subscription are not just numbers. They fuel the mission behind messages like this. They allow us to continue creating content that uplifts, empowers, awakens, and transforms those who need it most. When you support this channel, you help keep powerful voices, real truth, and life-changing perspective alive in a world that often tries to silence it. So tap that like button, subscribe, and stay connected. We rise together. And Chosen One, let's be honest, what they planned for you wasn't some petty argument, emotional flare-up, or casual jealousy meltdown. It was psychological warfare disguised as friendship, family, support, or interest. It was a carefully packaged weapon wrapped in innocence, smiles, long conversations, fake empathy, and well-timed concern. They tried to kill your confidence without touching your body, assassinate your identity without leaving a mark, and dismantle your peace without raising suspicion. They didn't need to hit you physically. All they had to do was get access. But here's where their blueprint crumbled. They underestimated the instincts, intuition, awareness, and inner alarm system you didn't even know you possessed. They thought they were operating in the shadows, but presence speaks louder than evidence. Energy exposes what words attempt to hide. Your spirit detected what your mind couldn't articulate yet. You started seeing through their tone, not just hearing their words. You sensed uneasiness without knowing why. You didn't walk away because you had proof. You walked away because something in you whispered, "This is not safe." And Chosen One, that is not paranoia. That is evolved intelligence. Have you ever wondered why you suddenly felt drained around certain people, even when nothing was apparently wrong? Why your motivation collapsed in their presence? Why your dreams felt smaller when you shared them? Why your inner light dimmed around their forced admiration? Because not every smile is support, not every listener is trustworthy, and not every shoulder is a resting place. Some are waiting for the perfect moment to push you off the edge, yet here you are, breathing, thinking, observing, evolving, unreachable in ways they never predicted. You survived an attack you didn't even know was happening. How powerful does that make you? And you may wonder, why didn't I see it clearly sooner? Because Chosen Ones don't learn protection through suspicion, they learn it through experience. Your lesson wasn't to fear people. Your lesson was to recognize alignment. Your assignment wasn't to retaliate, it was to awaken. They weren't just testing your strength, they activated it. So now, Chosen One, take a moment and realize, if they failed while you were unaware, unprepared, exhausted, confused, and emotionally open, imagine how impossible it will be now that you are awakened, alert, unavailable, and untouchable. They didn't just lose access, they lost the blueprint. This isn't a story of escape, it's a declaration of elevation. You didn't just walk away, you outgrew the battlefield. You weren't removed from danger, danger was removed from you. Welcome back, Chosen One. It's time to rise sharper than the blade they aimed at you. Before we move forward, Chosen One, take a deep breath, because what's coming next is not random information. It's revelation meant for those who survived what others never even sensed. If this message resonates with your inner knowing, if your spirit is recognizing the patterns and the hidden battles we're exposing, then don't just watch, stay connected. Hit like, subscribe, and drop 777 in the comments to signal that you're awake, aware, and rising beyond the wicked attempts that were never strong enough to stop you. Your engagement keeps this mission alive and pushes these messages to every silent warrior who needs them. Now, stay right where you are, Chosen One. What comes next will feel like remembering something you always knew. Let's continue. Number 1. The hidden strike was exposed before it ever reached your soul. The blow was loaded, but the target became untouchable before impact ever landed. They didn't fail because they missed. They failed because they never truly had access to you in the first place. Listen closely, my dear Chosen Ones, because what you're about to understand will change how you see every betrayal, every false smile, every sudden shift in someone's energy, and every unexplained disruption that pulled you away from people you once trusted. This wasn't a misunderstanding, and it wasn't emotional coincidence. It was a silent takeover attempt that never made it to completion. They weren't planning to bruise you. They were calculating a wound that would take years to recover from, one deep enough to alter your identity, dull your confidence, and corrupt your self-belief. They were aiming for the part of you that holds everything together, the version that leads, loves, inspires, and rises. And Chosen One, let's make something crystal clear. They studied you before they moved. They evaluated your weaknesses, your kindness, your compassion, your sincerity, your loyalty, and your natural instinct to see the good in people. They didn't attempt to destroy you through force. They attempted to destroy you through access. They planned to weaponize the very qualities that make you extraordinary. Your empathy, your warmth, your forgiveness, your ability to uplift others, your willingness to care even when you are broken. Because Chosen Ones are not destroyed by hate. They are destroyed by their own love when it is handed to the wrong hands. Maybe you've been asking yourself questions like, why me? Why would they try something so wicked? What did I ever do to deserve that degree of hidden cruelty? Here's your answer. People rarely attack what they don't fear. No one wastes strategy, timing, or secrecy on someone insignificant. They weren't threatened by your present success. They were terrified of your future impact. You represented potential that they couldn't control, influence they couldn't mimic, power they couldn't borrow, and a level of internal resilience they could never manufacture. When you carry something powerful, attacks don't show up with noise and chaos. They arrive as gentle hands, familiar smiles, and comforting voices that gradually attempt to loosen your internal guards. Chosen One, they believed you would never notice. They assumed your intuition was quiet, your awareness was sleeping, and your eyes were too naive to detect a shift that didn't come with evidence. They expected you to keep trusting blindly, keep pouring emotionally, keep apologizing for things you didn't do, and keep giving people the benefit of the doubt, even after the red flags started waving in neon. In their mind, you were predictable. In their plan, you were vulnerable. In their blueprint, you were defenseless. But here's where everything collapsed. You sensed discomfort before damage. Something inside you noticed what logic couldn't explain. Yet, you felt a strange inner shift, a quiet discomfort, a sudden pause in your spirit, a change in how you felt around them, even though nothing seemed wrong on the surface. That wasn't doubt, insecurity, or paranoia. That was your internal alarm system evolving beyond visual evidence. When a chosen one grows, the soul begins to see what eyes can't. You didn't expose them through confrontation. You exposed them by stepping back. You didn't need proof. You trusted the feeling. You didn't need accusations. You adjusted your access. And that single shift turned their masterpiece of manipulation into a pile of useless intentions. They needed you unaware, emotionally open, mentally tired, and spiritually disconnected. Instead, you became observant, detached, and less available. They planned to hit your identity, your confidence, and your emotional stability. They aimed to create wounds that wouldn't bleed, but would scar forever. Wounds that would make you doubt yourself, distrust your own judgment, and lose connection with your inner power. But chosen ones are not destroyed in silence. They rise in silence. And let's address what you may be thinking. But I never confronted them. I never exposed them. I never called them out. You didn't need to. Your distance was the exposure. When a chosen one suddenly withdraws, every pretender panics because their success requires your proximity. You didn't defeat them by fighting. You defeated them by not allowing the hit to land. They will never understand how you knew. They will never accept that their plan dissolved without evidence. They will never admit that you slipped through their fingers while they believed victory was guaranteed. But chosen one, the truth is simple. You weren't saved last minute. You were protected before the first move. The injury they designed never became your reality. The hit they rehearsed never touched your identity. The downfall they anticipated never entered your timeline. You are not standing today by chance. You are standing because your intuition is a fortress, and your destiny does not negotiate with destruction. Number 2. You detected the unseen threat long before it could disguise itself. You detected a silent threat long before it had a chance to touch you. There comes a moment in a chosen one's journey when the world around them appears perfectly normal, yet something within begins to scream without using a single word. Nothing dramatic happens, no visible betrayal is witnessed, no evidence appears, and no one slips up. Yet your inner world suddenly shifts into alert mode. Chosen one, that wasn't fear, insecurity, or imagination. That was your higher awareness activating before danger became visible. While others require proof, you receive perception. Where most depend on facts, you are guided by internal signals. And this is where your power becomes undeniable. You sense what others only notice after it's too late. Think about it. How many times did everything look aligned on the outside, yet something in your body felt heavy, uneasy, or suddenly disconnected? How many times did your heart feel unsettled, even when the situation appeared harmless and the people involved seemed friendly, supportive, or familiar? Your conscious mind tried to maintain peace, but your deeper intelligence whispered, "Something is wrong here." That whisper, chosen one, wasn't a flaw. It was your built-in alarm system, awakened and functioning beyond logic. You were never designed to learn everything through pain. Some lessons are meant to be learned through intuition. Your awareness began detecting danger before danger could disguise itself as comfort. The people who intended harm were clever enough to mask their motives in behavior, tone, and timing. But they forgot one crucial truth. You cannot hide energetic intent from someone who sees through vibration, frequency, and emotional shifts. You don't rely solely on what people say. You feel what they mean. And that skill has saved your destiny more times than you even realize. They thought you would walk into their trap with your heart wide open, your guard relaxed, and your empathy ready to serve. Their plan depended on you trusting too quickly, forgiving too easily, and doubting yourself before doubting them. They expected you to rationalize your discomfort, silence your instincts, and continue giving access simply because no proof existed. They underestimated how deeply chosen ones are wired. They didn't realize that when a chosen one senses danger, distance becomes automatic, even without a reason that makes sense to the logical mind. Chosen one, reflect on this. How many people did you slowly detach from, not because they wronged you, but because something within felt off? How many conversations suddenly felt heavy, forced, confusing, or quietly draining? How many individuals once felt safe, but later felt like a doorway to chaos you were not meant to enter? You didn't walk away because you lacked love. You walked away because you recognized energetic misalignment. That is not paranoia. That is advanced perception. Your awareness sharpened without warning. Tone began speaking louder than words. Silence began revealing more than explanations. Pauses between messages became louder than full conversations. You began noticing inconsistencies, emotional temperature shifts, the hidden meaning behind their jokes, the slight delay before they responded, the subtle envy in their compliments, or the lack of excitement when you succeeded. These micro-experiences were your guidance system saying, don't trust what is being shown, trust what is being felt. And here is what makes you powerful. You did not need to expose them, argue, accuse, or prove anything. You simply altered your availability. You protected your emotional access. You started being less present, less vulnerable, less revealing, and less reachable. That subtle shift disrupted their entire strategy. They weren't preparing to attack your body. They were aiming to infiltrate your mind, identity, trust, and stability. But their plan required you to stay emotionally open long enough for them to deliver the strike. The moment your awareness activated, their plan collapsed. Chosen one, never doubt that inner signal again. That uneasy feeling, that sudden discomfort, that mysterious change of heart. That is your invisible security system. It isn't designed to explain, it's designed to protect. You don't need evidence to justify your withdrawal. You don't need witnesses to validate your intuition. You don't need permission to leave what no longer feels aligned. When something inside you pulls away, trust it. Your protection will always arrive before your explanation. Understand this. Your ability to sense what others cannot see is not a burden. It is your greatest shield. It is the reason you escaped situations that were never meant to be survived. You didn't feel danger. You recognized it. And as a chosen one, you will continue to sense what others overlook, hear what others ignore, and leave long before the trap closes. The warning wasn't the problem, it was the miracle. And you listened. Number 3. They counted on your breakdown, but you recovered when collapse was expected. They needed you drained, but you became stronger at the very moment you were supposed to break. Chosen one, listen carefully to this part, because it will explain something you've questioned for a long time. The attack against you was never designed to strike when you were strong, confident, focused, or aware. It was strategically timed for the moment you were emotionally bruised, mentally overloaded, physically tired, spiritually disconnected, and psychologically vulnerable. They didn't want a storm, they wanted slow erosion. They didn't need an explosion, they needed internal corrosion. Their plot wasn't to knock you down, it was to wear you out, piece by piece, until you couldn't even recognize yourself anymore. They wanted you too exhausted to care, too overwhelmed to think, too drained to notice, too numb to resist, and too discouraged to fight back. Because exhaustion is the most underrated weapon of destruction. Once a chosen one is drained, they are easier to manipulate, easier to distract, easier to isolate, and easier to mislead. Chosen One, your exhaustion wasn't random. It was orchestrated. They were waiting for the perfect environment inside your mind. Fatigue, confusion, emotional depletion, loneliness, lack of clarity, and mental fog. They didn't plan to push you off a cliff. They planned to make you walk off it willingly by weakening you over time. Think about that. Their plan required your participation. They needed you to be too tired to set boundaries, too tired to think critically, too tired to protect your peace, too tired to trust your instincts, too tired to question their behavior, and too tired to notice their hidden agenda. They studied you when you were at your lowest because that was when they believed they could strike without consequences. They wanted to slip into your life unnoticed, like poison disguised as water, like a shadow that doesn't make sound. But here's where their calculation crumbled into confusion. Just when you should have collapsed, you awakened. Just when you were supposed to give up, you sharpened. Just when you should have stopped caring, you reconnected with yourself. Just when you were expected to sink, something inside you rose like a second wind you didn't ask for, but desperately needed. When they thought you were mentally done, you suddenly became more alert. When they expected you to fall apart, you started piecing yourself back together. When they thought you would stop noticing red flags, you began to highlight them in bold neon colors. That wasn't luck, coincidence, or timing. That was the power of a chosen one who doesn't fold under pressure but transforms under it. Chosen One, explain it however you want. A sudden spark, an inner awakening, a forgotten strength returning, a mental reset, or a spiritual recharge. But something happened that even you couldn't logically explain. The energy you gained didn't match your circumstances. The clarity you received didn't match the chaos. The endurance you displayed didn't match your exhaustion. The peace you felt didn't match your surroundings. The awareness you gained didn't match what you were being shown. And that unexplained revival was the moment their entire operation shattered without physical confrontation or verbal war. They didn't lose because you fought harder. They lost because you didn't fade the way they anticipated. They were banking on your breakdown because breakdowns open doors that logic normally closes. They expected you to surrender, to tolerate disrespect, to accept manipulation disguised as care, to make excuses for people who didn't deserve your loyalty, and to let your identity shrink until you couldn't recognize your own worth. But chosen ones don't break permanently. They rebirth. What they mistook as your weakness was actually your transformation. What they assumed was your quiet collapse was your silent evolution. What they saw as emotional exhaustion was actually the shedding of your old self to make room for the upgraded version. And here's the part that burns them the most. You didn't announce your comeback. You didn't warn them. You didn't post about it. You didn't explain it. You just rose without approval, without permission, without applause, without witnesses. Your revival wasn't loud. It was effective. Your strength didn't return as noise. It returned as clarity, boundaries, and unshakable self-awareness. And nothing destroys a hidden enemy faster than a target who is suddenly alert, aligned, balanced, and emotionally unavailable. Chosen One, they needed you exhausted, but you became untouchable. That is why their blueprint never became your reality. Their silent victory never reached the finish line because you regained power exactly when they needed you powerless. They didn't lose because they failed to strike. They lost because you refused to die where they expected you to. Say this with your spirit. My strength returned at the exact moment my enemies needed me weak. Number 4, access to your vulnerable core was cut off before penetration was possible. The bridge to your softest places collapsed before they reached it. Chosen One, understand this with unshakable clarity. They were never after the surface version of you. They didn't care about the image you presented to the world, the confidence you carried, the strength you displayed publicly, or the milestones people applaud you for. Those things were never their true target. They wanted the part of you hidden behind your achievements, the quiet, tender, trusting, emotionally rich core that only the rarest people ever get close enough to touch. They wanted access to the version of you that feels deeply, loves honestly, forgives generously, and sees potential even where there is none. They knew they couldn't take you down through physical means, so they planned to reach the emotional vault that holds the essence of who you are. Chosen one, the most dangerous enemy is not the one who hates you loudly. It is the one who studies the entry points to your vulnerability. They didn't aim for your pride. They aimed for your innocence. They weren't trying to break your confidence. They were trying to corrupt your capacity to trust. They knew that if they could hijack the version of you that still believes in love, loyalty, honesty, second chances, healing, forgiveness, and meaningful connection, they wouldn't need to crush your future. They could simply make you destroy yourself one painful memory at a time. They were not planning to harm your reputation. They were planning to harm your perception of yourself. Chosen one, let's address a truth most people refuse to speak. Your heart has always been your gift, but it has also been your most dangerous battlefield. You care with depth, not convenience. You love with sincerity, not performance. You trust with intention, not caution. And because you operate with emotional truth instead of manipulation, you became a prime target for someone whose strategy depended on your softness, not your strength. They didn't want to battle the warrior. They wanted to seduce the healer. They needed to get close enough to control your emotions, influence your decisions, distort your self-worth, and rewrite your internal narrative. They wanted to become the voice you listened to when you doubted yourself, the presence you leaned on when you were fragile, the person whose validation shaped your mood, and the one whose actions determined whether you felt safe or broken. Their plan wasn't to hit you hard, chosen one. It was to hit you slowly. The slow poison always kills deeper than the fast weapon. But here's where their blueprint turned to ashes. The connection broke before the damage could begin. Right when they thought they were close enough to attach themselves to your emotional veins, something severed the access. Suddenly, the communication felt strange. The energy felt heavy, the conversations lost depth, the comfort felt forced, and the bond began to fade without a clear reason. Maybe you felt confused, maybe you felt abandoned, maybe it felt like rejection, maybe you blamed yourself, or maybe you questioned your worth. But chosen one, understand this: distance is not always a loss. Sometimes it is protection disguised as confusion. At first, it didn't make sense. You wondered why you felt emotionally pulled back when logically everything seemed fine. You questioned whether you were overthinking or being unfair, but chosen one, intuition speaks long before reality reveals. Something in your spirit, mind, or energy recognized a danger your emotions couldn't articulate yet. You weren't being dramatic, you were being redirected. You didn't lose a meaningful connection. You avoided a catastrophic one. Chosen one, there is a reason you couldn't stay close to certain people even though you cared. There is a reason some relationships suddenly felt heavy. There is a reason your interest declined without explanation. There is a reason you stopped sharing your deepest thoughts. There is a reason you suddenly preferred solitude over emotional availability that wasn't abandonment. It was a lock being changed before an intruder arrived. And here's the part they will never understand. They didn't lose because you exposed them, confronted them, or fought back. They lost because the invisible doors closed before they ever reached your emotional sanctuary. They never got to rewrite your identity, fracture your trust, dismantle your hope, or hold the steering wheel of your heart. They never touched the purest part of you, and that means they never won. Chosen one, remember this: your vulnerability is not a weakness. It is a sacred space, and not everyone deserves a key. The right people protect it. The wrong people seek to exploit it. The rare ones earn it. The dangerous ones try to sneak into it. You did not lose a connection. You dodged a psychological infiltration, and that is why you are still whole. Number 5. Their united plot crumbled from the inside before execution could begin. Their operation collapsed from within before it ever reached your door. Chosen one, listen closely, because this truth will liberate you from years of unnecessary self-blame and confusion. The trap that was designed for you didn't fail because you were weak or because you fought harder than them. It failed because the very people who built it couldn't maintain the unity, secrecy, or discipline required to pull it off. They believed they were forming an unbreakable alliance, a secret circle bound by shared lies and hidden motives. But what they didn't realize was that darkness is incapable of sustaining teamwork without eventually turning on itself. They didn't lose because you defended yourself. They lost because their own coordination imploded before their wicked plan ever touched your reality. These individuals truly thought they were operating like a flawless, well-oiled machine. They had conversations about you behind curtains, shared subtle cues, exchanged private messages, rehearsed manipulative dialogues, and aligned their timing with near-military precision. They believed that if several voices whispered the same narrative, it would become the truth. They assumed that as long as they stuck together, their plan would be unstoppable. In their minds, unity equaled victory and secrecy equaled safety. They were confident, bold, smug, and convinced they were invisible. But chosen one, here's the irony. People united by wicked intent are never truly united at all. Their alliance only existed because they temporarily shared a target: you. Their loyalty wasn't built on genuine connection, respect, or shared values. It was built on envy, insecurity, competition, and covert fascination with your light. And anything constructed on unstable emotional foundation is guaranteed to collapse under the smallest shift of energy. Suddenly, the smooth execution they fantasized about began spiraling. Messages that once aligned became confusing. Instructions that once seemed agreed upon started sounding suspicious. Someone in the group misinterpreted something and acted unsure. Someone else, who originally seemed brave and committed, became afraid of consequences and backed out. Another started wondering whether they were being manipulated by the others. Another realized the risk outweighed the satisfaction. Soon, the group that once felt unbreakable began to feel like a room full of strangers who simply shared a temporary grudge. This is what people forget. Those who bond over the idea of breaking someone else eventually break each other. When there is no moral compass, no mutual love, and no genuine respect, distrust grows faster than agreement. The same individuals who were bold and aggressive behind your back became suddenly quiet, paranoid, doubtful, and hesitant. They no longer trusted their partners, no longer trusted the timing, and no longer trusted the outcome. Their once perfect plan began to feel dangerous, sloppy, and unpredictable. Not because you fought them, but because their intention was never strong enough to sustain long-term unity. You may ask, why did they suddenly start falling apart if they were so confident? Because manipulation requires synchronized thinking, and the moment even one person questions the plan, the entire structure fractures. One weak link becomes two, two becomes three, and soon caution spreads like a virus, infecting the entire group until everyone is silently second-guessing their involvement. They didn't just lose coordination. They lost conviction. While they were preparing strategic timing, psychological triggers, and emotional traps, something subtle but powerful interfered. Confusion, not loud, dramatic confusion, quiet, creeping uncertainty. That kind of confusion feels like coincidence, overthinking, anxiety, random hesitation, or unexpected guilt. But chosen one, Confusion is the silent assassin of organized destruction. Once doubt enters the room, loyalty evaporates, especially among those who were never true allies to begin with. Eventually, instead of focusing on how to harm you, they began focusing on how to protect themselves, because selfish alliances always end in self-preservation. Some tried to rewrite their original involvement. Some blamed others. Some pretended they were never fully committed. Some walked away in fear of exposure. Others simply lost interest when the outcome no longer looked guaranteed. And chosen one, here is the most powerful truth. Their trap didn't fail at the final stage. It failed at the blueprint stage. Why? Because destruction requires perfect timing, perfect unity, and perfect silence. Three things that unstable, jealous, insecure individuals can never sustain. You didn't need to confront them. You didn't need to expose them. You didn't need to defend yourself. Their plan died in their hands before it was ever strong enough to reach you. This is why you must never question your worth based on who tried to hurt you. Instead, measure your power by how many fell apart trying. Number 6. The minimal hurt became a warning siren, not a life-shattering blow. There comes a point in every chosen one's journey where life stops protecting you from every bruise and instead allows you to feel just enough discomfort to wake up, not to destroy you, not to weaken you, but to reveal what smiles, compliments, and polite conversations were designed to keep hidden. You were never meant to walk through life untouched. You were meant to learn, evolve, and sharpen your perception. The pain you felt in that season wasn't a tragedy. It was a diagnostic tool, a reality check, a silent X-ray that revealed what the surface refused to admit. And yes, chosen one, it stung, but it also showed you who was who. If every interaction had remained pretty, peaceful, or pleasant, you would have continued sitting at tables where your loyalty was a menu item, not a shared value. You didn't go through that disappointment so you could drown in sorrow. You went through it because the universe needed to make sure you didn't confuse access with alignment. Some people weren't in your story to support you. They were there to study you, to monitor your vulnerabilities, and to silently measure where they could strike with the highest emotional impact and the lowest visual evidence. You handled people with sincerity who handled you like a strategic advantage, not a connection. It wasn't your fault. Chosen ones lead with heart first. But reality has a way of exposing motives through discomfort faster than any conversation, apology, or promise ever could. The pain you encountered was not designed to break your spirit, but to break your illusions. There is a painful moment every chosen one experiences. The realization that some of the people they would have stepped into fire for wouldn't even offer a glass of water in return. That moment isn't meant to turn you cold, it's meant to turn you conscious. You didn't need to see the whole monster. You only needed to feel the shadow brush against you to understand that something was not as innocent as it pretended to be. Had everything been comfortable, you would have stayed close, stayed trusting, stayed invested, and stayed unaware, while someone else stayed calculating. The sting was strategic. It was your permission slip to detach. It taught you that love, empathy, and loyalty are powerful gifts, and dangerous in the presence of hidden agendas. It taught you that pain is not always an enemy. Sometimes it is the only honest messenger in the room. When words lie, when actions deceive, when smiles mask intentions, pain steps in and whispers, "Pay attention." Chosen one, that whisper saved you. It turned confusion into clarity, familiarity into caution, and innocence into wisdom. Sometimes you don't realize how wicked a person is until your kindness reveals their opportunistic side. You learned that not everyone who stands beside you is standing with you. Some simply stand near, waiting for the perfect moment to benefit or betray. That mini heartbreak you experienced wasn't weakness. It was data collection. The universe allowed you to feel just enough because full exposure would have been irreversible damage. You saw the first half of their intention, but you were protected from the execution phase. You felt the initial discomfort so you wouldn't walk into the catastrophic version. Pain isn't always a wound. Sometimes it's a warning label. It sharpened your intuition. It forced you to read energy, not sentences. It taught you to evaluate consistency, not charm. It helped you see that the most dangerous people are not the ones who show obvious hostility, but the ones who pretend to care while quietly preparing your downfall. You discovered that betrayal isn't always loud. Sometimes it arrives wearing the clothes of comfort. And Chosen One, look at what happened next. You stepped back. You became quieter, wiser, more observant. You stopped defending people who would never defend you. You stopped explaining things to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stopped mistaking fragments for wholes. Potential for loyalty and promises for character pain didn't make you bitter. It made you emotionally bulletproof. You're not standing here today because life was gentle with you. You're standing because pain trained you, experience shaped you, intuition evolved you, and awareness upgraded you. The hurt you felt did not destroy you. It prevented your destruction. It did not close your heart. It installed filters. You didn't survive by luck, Chosen One. You survived because you learned. Number 7. They needed your silence, but your awareness became their downfall. Their blueprint depended on your silence, but your awareness rose like a weapon they never prepared for. My dear Chosen Ones, the individuals working behind the scenes against you never planned for a dramatic scene, loud confrontation, or explosive fallout. They didn't want chaos, they wanted quiet control. Their entire operation was designed around one psychological requirement: your silence. Not the peaceful silence of confidence, but the suffocating silence of confusion, emotional exhaustion, and internal doubt. They wanted you trapped inside your own head, replaying conversations, questioning your memory, doubting your intuition, and second-guessing every instinct your soul dared to whisper. They knew if they could keep you mentally isolated, they could shape your reality without ever raising their voice or lifting a hand. Silence, Chosen One, was their battlefield, and they expected you to lose without even realizing you were fighting. You weren't meant to speak up, question patterns, or recognize manipulation for what it was. They wanted you overwhelmed enough to stay quiet, uncertain enough to stay compliant, and emotionally tangled enough to stay accessible. They didn't plan to destroy you while you were loud. They planned to destroy you while you were quietly drowning. The silence they intended for you wasn't peaceful. It was meant to be the coffin where they buried your confidence, clarity, and sense of self. They needed you stuck inside internal loops, convincing yourself you were too dramatic, too sensitive, reading too much into it, or imagining things. That mental trap was supposed to be their greatest victory because they understood that when a Chosen One stops speaking, the world assumes nothing is wrong, even while the soul is being suffocated from the inside. But Chosen One, what they underestimated was the hidden force within you that cannot be trained, bought, tamed, or manipulated. Awareness. Awareness is not loud, but it is lethal. And while they tried to shrink your voice, your inner perception sharpened. The very silence they tried to use against you became the environment where you finally heard what was never spoken out loud. Moments you once dismissed suddenly connected like puzzle pieces. Behaviors you overlooked became patterns. Excuses that once soothed you now sounded rehearsed. Tones and micro-expressions that once felt meaningless now exposed motives. What used to confuse you suddenly became undeniable. This wasn't paranoia, it was evolution. Your mind was not shutting down, it was waking up. You shifted from emotional attachment to psychological observation. You stopped reacting and started analyzing. You stopped questioning yourself and started questioning the situation. And that, chosen one, is when their plan collapsed. They didn't need you powerless. They needed you unaware. Once you became aware, the game stopped belonging to them. They never expected you to recognize the subtle conditioning, the covert blame shifting, the strategic guilt traps, and the carefully timed affection that kept you emotionally anchored. They thought your loyalty would blind you forever. They assumed your empathy made you easy to control. They expected your silence to be a cage. They never imagined it would become clarity. Silence didn't weaken you. Silence exposed them. And let's address the inner questions you might still carry. Why didn't I speak up sooner? Why didn't I see it from the start? Why did I stay longer than I should have? Because chosen ones don't learn from warning signs. They learn from awakening. You had to feel the confusion to understand the value of clarity. You had to experience silence to recognize the meaning of a voice. You had to endure hidden attacks to discover your unseen strength. Every stage was preparing you, sharpening you, maturing you. The moment your awareness rose, everything shifted. Their influence faded. Their tactics became obvious. Their illusion cracked. Their narrative lost power. The same people who once controlled your internal dialogue suddenly had no access to your emotional system. They lost the ability to plant doubt because you no longer accepted their seeds. They lost the ability to confuse you because you finally trusted your inner navigation. You became someone they could no longer manipulate, corner, or program, not because you changed outwardly, but because you awakened inwardly. Chosen one. Awareness is the death of manipulation, clarity is the end of control, and silence, when transformed into observation, becomes the weapon that turns the victim into the victor. You walked out, not because someone rescued you, but because your mind refused to be owned. They tried to silence you, and instead they activated your awakening. When you see everything clearly, you no longer need to speak loudly. That is the real power. Number 8. Their chosen final hit never launched. Because the key player fell out of position. There is always a final move in every hidden agenda. Chosen one. A last strike that isn't loud, obvious, or dramatic, but quiet, personal, and devastating. Every well-crafted plot has a centerpiece, a strategically selected individual meant to carry out the part of the plan that no outsider could execute. They didn't choose just anyone for this role. They selected someone who had emotional clearance, psychological access, or personal history with you. Someone whose words could bypass your defenses, someone whose presence you trusted, someone who could walk straight into your private world without knocking. They believed that if anyone could be used to deliver a cut deep enough to shatter your identity, silence your voice, or break your inner nucleus, it would be this person. The attack wasn't designed to come from your enemies. No, that would be too obvious. It was designed to come from the person you least suspected, the one your heart would never question, the one your mind automatically categorized as safe. Chosen one, understand this. Strangers cannot destroy you. Only people with emotional access can. And that is exactly why they chose a vessel who could deliver the blow without you guarding yourself. They didn't want to simply hurt you. They wanted you to doubt everything you ever believed about loyalty, love, friendship, intuition, and trust. They wanted the wound to come from someone whose words could sound like truth and whose disappointment could feel like failure. The goal was not to break your body. The goal was to break your belief system. They understood that physical pain heals, but emotional betrayal reprograms perception. They wanted you to question your ability to read people. They wanted your confidence in your own intuition to collapse. They wanted you to internalize the belief that even the safest person could turn into a weapon. But here's where the entire blueprint malfunctioned. Something shifted inside the very individual they planned to use. The master key they were banking on suddenly didn't fit the lock. The person chosen to deliver the ultimate blow hesitated, backed away, disconnected, or became unstable at the very moment they were expected to act. The group, the manipulators, or the hidden observers couldn't understand it. After all, the setup was perfect. Access, granted. Trust, established. Emotional proximity, already active. Influence, fully secured. Yet chosen one, the final strike never happened. The sniper lowered the weapon, the messenger lost their voice, the betrayer paused mid-move, the executioner questioned the assignment, and the emotional assassin felt uncertainty rising like smoke in a sealed room. What caused the hesitation? Was it conscience, fear, sudden guilt, unexpected compassion? Was it the realization that participating in such a betrayal came with a cost their spirit wasn't built to carry? Was it the uneasy feeling that crossing you would backfire in a way they could never recover from? Was it an inner voice whispering that something about this felt wrong on a cosmic level? No matter what triggered it, chosen one, the result was the same. The weapon never launched. The final move never activated. The most trusted piece exited the chessboard before their turn. The piece that was supposed to guarantee checkmate became the reason the entire strategy collapsed into dust. The planners did not expect resistance from inside their own camp. They never predicted that the person they trusted most would suddenly become unreliable, distant, unavailable, conflicted, distracted, or emotionally disconnected. They didn't consider that the human heart is unpredictable, especially when the mission is fueled by malice. They never imagined that the one chosen to hurt you would hesitate long enough for the plan to expire, and when the final strike carrier stepped back, whether out of discomfort, fear, anxiety, moral conflict, sudden intuition, or unexplained inner resistance, every other part of the plot instantly lost meaning. Without that final move, nothing else mattered. And chosen one, you must understand the hidden message. Your destiny was never in their hands. It was only temporarily near them. You were never as vulnerable as they believed. You were not one weak moment away from destruction. You were one silent hesitation away from breakthrough. The fact that the plan needed someone close to you proves your strength. The fact that it failed proves your protection. The fact that they had to carefully select someone emotionally significant proves your value. And the fact that the chosen participant aborted the mission proves your spiritual insulation. You are still standing, not because no one tried, but because even their most calculated move could not execute. When the final attacker loses willingness, the attack loses meaning. When the closest link refuses to cooperate, the chain falls apart. You were never taken out, chosen one, and that alone is your silent victory. Number 9. Their overconfidence became the very slip that revealed their entire blueprint. Their arrogance became the trap they built for themselves. There comes a moment, my dear chosen one, when those who plot against you begin to believe their own lies more than the truth that stands right in front of them. They didn't move against you from a place of intelligence, strategy, wisdom, or superiority. They moved from a place of ego, entitlement, and delusion. They convinced themselves that you were already defeated, already distracted, already cornered, already conquered. They believed the game was over before it even properly began. And because arrogance blinds faster than darkness, they stopped operating with caution and started moving with reckless confidence. They thought they had already won, and that belief alone became the first domino in their destruction. They spoke too freely, bragged too early, became too comfortable, and forgot that silence is a strategist's greatest weapon. While they assumed they were climbing higher, they didn't realize they were stepping on a trapdoor attached to their own pride. Chosen one, their arrogance did not come from strength. It came from the illusion of control. They believed they understood your weaknesses, your patterns, your emotions, your triggers, and your boundaries. They thought they had memorized your moves like a predictable script, forgetting that chosen ones evolve quietly and transform while no one is watching. They thought you were standing still simply because you weren't announcing your movement. They mistook your silence for confusion, your patience for fear, your stillness for paralysis, and your calm for defeat. They didn't realize that chosen ones upgrade internally long before anything shifts externally. And while they were busy assuming victory, you were gathering clarity, sharpening intuition, and preparing your exit from the battlefield without ever lifting a sword. Their arrogance made them loud, but your evolution made you untouchable. This is where the story flips. Arrogance always removes the mask faster than truth ever could. When someone thinks you're no longer a threat, they stop acting, they stop pretending. They stop filtering, they stop strategizing, they stop masking their intentions because they become too confident to hide them. They start making sloppy mistakes, rushing conversations, changing tones, mismanaging their lies, contradicting their stories, revealing hidden alliances, exposing their jealousy, and overlooking the details that once kept them disguised. Chosen one, arrogance is like alcohol. It makes people say what they shouldn't, reveal what they plan, and expose what they hide. And you, with your heightened awareness and sharpened intuition, started catching micro-expressions, tone shifts, accidental slips, energy changes, and subtle signals they didn't even realize they were broadcasting. You noticed things that were never meant to be seen, not because you were investigating, but because your awareness matured faster than their deception could mask itself. The moment they began celebrating your supposed downfall was the moment they unknowingly triggered their own. They didn't fall because you fought them. They fell because they stopped being careful. They collapsed because pride replaced discipline. They crumbled because ego replaced intelligence. They self-sabotaged because they assumed the chosen one would always remain predictable. They forgot that strength isn't measured by loudness. It's measured by endurance, self-control, and the ability to remain unshaken while others underestimate you. Their plan required precision, secrecy, patience, and coordination. Pride destroyed all four. Instead of moving like silent predators, they became clumsy amateurs, tripping over their own intentions. They exposed themselves not through confrontation, but through confidence they never earned. Chosen one, understand this deeply. You did not win because you attacked. You won because you perceived. The downfall of those who plotted against you had nothing to do with physical superiority and everything to do with energetic mismatch. They operated from ego. You operated from awareness. They relied on prediction. You relied on instinct. They moved with impatience. You evolved with timing. They believed they already owned the victory. You simply continued to grow beyond their ability to reach you. And that is why, while they were raising invisible glasses to an unearned victory, their entire foundation was cracking beneath them. They didn't lose because you fought back. They lost because they underestimated who they were trying to trap. A chosen one is never defeated by an enemy, only redirected to a higher version of self. Remember this forever, chosen one. Arrogance destroys more enemies than any weapon ever will. The day they believed you were beneath them was the day the ground disappeared beneath them, and you, without shouting, without explaining, without exposing, walked away untouched, while they became the architects of their own humiliation. They thought they were writing your ending. They were accidentally writing the chapter titled, "How I Destroyed Myself," trying to destroy someone who was never meant to lose. Now, as we close this chapter, chosen one, understand that none of what you went through was random. It was revelation, elevation, and preparation disguised as betrayal. You didn't just survive, you evolved beyond their reach, and that is your silent victory. The fact that you're here, wiser, sharper, calmer, and more aware, proves that their strategy became your stepping stone. Your story isn't ending, it's unlocking. And if this message resonated, empowered, or awakened something within you, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with another silent warrior, and drop 77 in the comments to mark your breakthrough.